Hello everyone, my name is Keely. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today I am doing my December wrap up and I managed to read 13 books this month with a total of 4,942 pages. It was a really good reading month for me. I mean, I did have 2 weeks off for Christmas break from work, so that comes in handy when it comes to reading. But as always, we're gonna go through these books in the order that I read them in. The first book I read in December was Always in December by Emily Stone, and in this book we follow a woman named Josie who hates Christmas. She doesn't like any reminders of it because something terrible happened 20 years ago, so now she just tries to forget it's Christmas. When one day, when it's Christmas, Max gets stranded in London and they end up spending Christmas together and having a wonderful, wonderful time. So this book actually follows the course of these two characters over a year because they spent this like one magical day together and they never thought they would see each other again, but they keep bumping into each other throughout the year in unexpected situations. So I will say, first and foremost, I was disappointed that this wasn't just strictly a Christmas book. It was kind of, like I said, throughout the entire year. So we went through all the seasons, all the months, and I just really wanted a Christmas book, especially because it was called Always in December. But I did like the Christmas vibes that we did get when we were in those months. And honestly, I thought about DNFing this book about 50% of the way through, but I looked at some of the reviews and so many people had such high praises for it, saying that it made them sob, that it was so emotional, and so of course I wanted to see where the book was going and find out if it was as good as everyone thought. And I will say the ending was sad, but by that point I just wasn't as invested as I was hoping to be. This book also does deal with grief and loss, which is one of my favorite topics in books, and I did like the way it handled it, but ultimately I just wasn't as invested, so I gave this one 3 stars. The next book I read was The Golden Spoon by Jessica Maxwell, and this is actually a thriller book reminiscent of The Great British Bake Off. So in this book we have 6 amateur bakers who are going on a TV show called Bake Week at this famous mansion with this famous baker who is the host and the judge when somebody ends up dead. So I was really excited about this book because 2 of my favorite things, murder and bake off. I love those things and I love how this added everything together and it just made so much sense and it was so much fun the way it was told. I also was a little worried that the 6 voices would get really confusing because we do follow all of the characters, but everyone was so unique and I loved hearing from all of them and they all made it so much fun. I just had a great time reading this book and I gave it 4 stars. Next, I read Holiday Romance by Catherine Walsh. In this book, we follow a girl named Molly who for the past 10 years has caught a flight once a year home to Christmas in Ireland with this guy named Andrew, and they meet up once a year and go on these flights. One day when they are going on this yearly trip, it is their 10th anniversary, everything goes wrong and she is trying everything she can do to get Andrew home for Christmas. This book was so much fun. It had all the holiday vibes that I wanted, but also all the travel vibes. I love anything to do with travel, and I am kind of one of those people that when things go wrong when traveling, I look at it as another adventure, and this book was exactly that because so many things went wrong, but it was also adventurous and they got to go to so many places that were so cool and unique and just have so much fun, and it creates a great story and great memories. I also loved that we got to see the past 10 years because every few chapters we would get flashbacks to other flights that they took together and how their relationship and friendship and eventually their romance kind of built throughout the 10 years. I loved both of these characters so much. It was also really heartfelt and family filled, which was also just a great time. I give this one 5 stars. This is probably my favorite like Christmas romance, but also one of my favorite romances. The next book I finished in December was Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. I'm a high school English teacher and this is the book that we went over before Christmas break, so I really don't need to go into depth with it because this was something I was teaching and everybody knows Romeo and Juliet, but I did have a lot of fun exploring and diving deeper into this play because it has been years and years since I read it, but I gave this one 4 stars. Next, I read The Christmas Killer by Alex Pine, and in this book we follow a man that's a detective, and it's almost Christmas time and he gets a letter in the mail saying 12 days of Christmas, 12 murders, and it goes on from there. And so he's trying to stop all these murders that's happening and figure out who the serial killer in this small England village is. This was a fun book. I really liked the setup and the plot, but there wasn't something super special about it. I also thought his wife was incredibly annoying, but overall it was just a fun, good time, and I gave this one 3 stars. Next, I read We Met in December by Rosie Curtis. In this book, we follow a young woman named Jess, and she is moving to London for the first time to kind of live out her dream. She is going to be living in a Notting Hill apartment with several other people when she meets one of her roommates, Alex, and she falls in love with him. Now, she goes on like a 2-week vacation, and when she comes back, Alex has developed a relationship with one of the other roommates, so ensues this kind of relationship and pining over the course of a year. Now, there were a few problems with this book. Overall, though, I really enjoyed it. So let me begin with some of my problems. First, there is a little bit of emotional cheating in here. Some people might not think that it is emotional cheating, but for me, as someone who absolutely hates cheating in books, this does kind of come across at times as emotional cheating, which is a no-no for me. And then Jess's friends were so annoying and I really didn't like them. On the other side of things, I really enjoyed Jess and Alex, and I was rooting for them the entire way, and Jess is me. Like, a lot of the stuff she is going through or she says helped explain exactly how I am feeling currently in my life, and I saw so much of myself in her that it was almost painful to read about because it like woke up some stuff and I was like, okay, I didn't want to recognize that, but now I see it and it's true and I need to fix things. But overall, I gave this one 4 stars, and I also read this book in a day, so that tells you that I just couldn't put it down. The next book I read was The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan. This is book 5 in the Heroes of Olympus series. Once again, if you haven't gotten tired of me saying it, this was a reread for me, so I finally finished my reread of the Heroes of Olympus series, so I will be moving into some of Rick Riordan's other series, but of course this one was 5 stars. This is one of the best series finales of any series I have ever read, not even being dramatic. Next, I read A Royal Christmas Fairy Tale by Karen Shaler, and in this book we follow a woman named Kaylee who is an investigative journalist, and she just lost her job right before Christmas, so her boss is trying frantically to find her another assignment. So she gets a new assignment and she doesn't know what it is until she gets there, and she flies all the way across the world to a new country where she stays with the royal family and is kind of writing about their Christmas traditions. So this is one of those books that I would love as a movie, but it did not work for me as a book. I recognize that my movie taste is very different than my book taste. Kind of weird. But I really didn't care for the characters. The main character, Kaylee, actually annoyed me a lot, and I found my eyes rolling at her and the dialogue throughout this book. As of right now, I have this at 3 stars, but I honestly might lower it. But like I said, I would love this in a movie, so like don't let that put you off of the story. The next book I finished was Arusha and the City of Gold by Roshni Chokshi. This is book 4 in the Pandava Quintet. I am almost done with it, and this is one of those series that I am reading because it is under Rick Riordan Presents, and I'm trying to read all of those books, and this one in particular deals with Hindu mythology. So, this series, as I have been reading it, the information enters my mind and then immediately leaves, and I just forget everything that happened. So in general, I've been giving these books 3 stars because they aren't memorable for me, but to some people they might be. So the next 3 books are all a part of a series, so I'm going to kind of talk about them together, and that is the Poison Study trilogy. Now, this trilogy is a part of another series called The Chronicles of Ixia. Now, The Chronicles of Ixia is a 9-book series that is composed of 3 different trilogies, and this is the first trilogy within that series. So the first book is Poison Study, and this is by Maria V. Schneider, and in this book we follow a girl named Yelena, and she is in prison for murder, and she is about to be executed when she is given the choice. You can either be executed or become the commander's poison taster, and the poison tasters often die because, I mean, poison, but she decides to become the poison taster. This was so much fun. Now, I am not a fantasy girly. How many times do I have to say that? But I own like 6 of these books, so I figured, you know what, I'm gonna pick the first book up. That way I know if I don't like it, I can just go ahead and unhaul all of them. Well, you see how that worked out for me. I immediately read 3 of them. But this one was so fun. I loved Yelena, and learning about all the poisons was really cool because she has to learn how to identify the poisons before she can start working, which makes sense. And then we also have another character in here named Valak, and Valak is kind of her teacher, but he's also an assassin. And their dynamic is so much fun, and I just really love being within kind of like this castle, and she's learning to taste poisons, and then seeing her as she is going through like these poisonings. I just really loved it, and learning about all the characters and the world. This is one of those books where there's not a ton of world building, but it is the perfect amount to not be too consumed by it, but also you understand everything that's going on. So I gave this one 5 stars. Moving on to the sequel, which is Magic Study, we are leaving the castle and we are going to another part of this world, like kind of like a different kingdom. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It was still a lot of fun, but Yelena and Valak are separated in this one, and I missed Valak so much, so 4 stars overall. And then the third one, which is Fire Study. This has been my least favorite so far, but I still love these books so much. This is my least favorite because it does get more political, and I think that's why a lot of times I'm not a huge fantasy reader, is because I don't like the politics within it, and this world definitely got more political in this book in particular, so I gave this one 3 stars. And we are at the final book that I read in December, which is the final book I read in 2023, and that is Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan. And this is a romance book, and I wasn't expecting too much from it, but let me tell you. We follow this woman who is kind of a supernatural occult specialist, and she is a curse breaker. So she is going to Scotland to kind of break this curse on this old castle that has been cursing this place for hundreds of years, where we also have this other guy who is an archaeologist, and he's also working at the castle, and he does not believe in curses. But of course, these two people have to work together, and they fall in love. And the little tagline here says, an occult expert and a disgraced archaeologist walk into a castle, ... So the two characters in here, Riley and Clark, I love them so much. I love that we get the two completely different dynamics. We have like the supernatural aspect and the archaeology aspect, which are two of my favorite things. I love archaeology and I love supernatural, and I haven't read a lot about people like breaking curses, which is also really fascinating, but the romance in here, so tense, so much chemistry, it's so special. I just really love it. But also the setting, we are in a castle in Scotland. I love that, but I also love that when we meet the Scottish characters, they aren't written with the accent. You just know that they have one, but you don't have to try to struggle your way through trying to read that. But the vibes, the atmosphere, it is so spooky and I love it. Actually, in my book haul, when I hauled this book, I hadn't read it yet, and I was like, I'm just getting bat vibes from this. And there was a scene with bats. Yes, there was. But I love this one so much. It was a great way to end 2023. In fact, I actually picked up a book and I was like, okay, I need a book that's not going to be 5 stars because I've already filmed a lot of my videos. I was wrong. This one was 5 stars. Really loved it. So those are all the books that I read in the month of December. Please let me know what your favorite book you read this month was. I would love to know. If you have made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave the bat emoji because of Do Your Worst. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, all my social media links will be down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!